A couple of FAQs dropped yesterday for recent books. The sisters have had some much needed rules fixes. There's a few clear ups for chapter approved, and Daedalosus is dead. Hello and welcome back to Auspex Tactics, where today we're just rounding up the latest wave of FAQs. Nothing really too major this time, mainly obvious or fairly expected clarifications. We'll start with the Sisters of Battle and then go on to the chapter approved books. So for the Sisters Codex, it seems that Games Workshop seem to think that everything is functioning as intended, as we literally only have 3 FAQs, and all of which were completely obvious on the first read of the Codex. Saint Celestine and the Paragon Warsuits both had -1 damage rules built in. Almost every rule in 40k that has a -1 damage effect always caps at a minimum of 1. For some reason they managed to leave out the clarification in these ones, so technically Celestine and those Paragon Warsuits were technically immune to damage 1 weapons rules as written, though to me it seemed completely obvious that that wasn't intentional. In any case, it is fixed now, they only reduce damage to a minimum of 1. The other obvious typo was the other one to Paragon Warsuits, the one that listed them as 240 points per model, which would have put one of those 4 wound non-dams as almost the same cost as a Land Raider, and the full squad of 3 of them a big 720 points. Now it's been corrected and it's 240 points per the unit, not for the model, which is what everyone expected it to be. I did just find it a bit funny in the interim that if you did play someone who was using those Paragon Warsuits and they were claiming that they were completely immune to damage 1 weapons, you could just turn around and say, well, I certainly hope that you paid 240 points per model if we're playing rules as written. In any case, both of those obvious errors are now fixed. It still doesn't really leave the Paragon Warsuits in an amazing place, to be honest. They are a touch overcosted, I think, but I guess they might always rebalance them in the future if they want to bring the price down. I was kind of surprised at the lack of other FAQs in the Codex. The Sisters one is at least a reasonably complicated one, multiple stacking special rules and weird interactions like Acts of Faith and Miracle Dice. I thought they might have had at least a few more weird interactions to comment on, but it seems they haven't found anything else that was suitably worthy of an FAQ. Otherwise, there's another couple of short documents for the chapter approved points and the Grand Tournament mission pack. For the points changes, they've fixed that same error with the Paragon Warsuits, clarified the Drakari nerfs, making a Raider cost 95 points and Drazar cost 145, and that puts them in line with that Drakari nerf FAQ that they issued, so at least it's officially updated in all documents. Probably the most meaningful change out of either of these documents, though, is that Games Workshop have now decided to kill off Daedalosus now, who I'm sure AdMech players will be quite familiar with. He's the little buffing tech priest character from Blackstone Fortress, and has been a really competitive model for them throughout 8th and 9th edition. He has a really good buffing aura that gives +1 to hit against nearby targets, but it did seem likely that his writing was on the wall when they released that Techno-Archaeologist datasheet in the AdMech Codex. It uses the exact same miniature, and it seemed unlikely that Games Workshop would both want him and that miniature in the game. It was kind of surprising when he even got a points cost in chapter approved, but now they basically just said to delete that one and use that Techno-Archaeologist datasheet instead. They've also managed to misspell Daedalosus' datasheet rather appropriately in the FAQ. They seem to have called him Daedalosus instead. I guess if we're playing the silly rules as written game, Daedalosus still lives, as they haven't actually deleted any entry called Daedalosus in chapter approved. In reality, it's perfectly clear what they meant. I think there was a time when that might have been a major nerf to the AdMech Codex. He's a phenomenally good buffing character, but honestly he wasn't even really making it into current AdMech lists anyway, just because the Skitarii Marshal and Tech Priest Manipulus do so much good for the Skitarii big units that Daedalosus might have buffed. Out of all the things in the AdMech Codex, he certainly isn't the one that most needs a nerf. Otherwise, Efraelstern and Kaiganil, they've just clarified that entry. For some reason they appeared in the miscellaneous section of chapter approved, and they have just underlined that yes, they only appear in the Adeptus Auroritas section. You can ignore that 125 point entry. They are indeed 120 points, as printed in the new decks. And then they've issued an entire extra FAQ document, this one for the Grand Tournament mission pack. As best I can tell, they haven't changed anything else at all to do with the missions or the secondaries. They've just literally added in all the rare rules that they had in the previous FAQ, as they try and keep the Grand Tournament mission pack updated with the rare rules and extra things that they add in. I sort of wonder how much they really need to do this. I kind of feel like if we're having to do FAQs anyway, do they really need to reprint all the rare rules each time a new chapter approved mission pack comes out? Basically it just adds in all the similar changes that were in the core book, such as the clarification for that counts as stationary one, allowing units to fall back and still shoot. And that's it for the FAQs this time. In my opinion, nothing at all that was surprising whatsoever. Kind of a shame to see Daedalosus go. He was quite a flavourful and solid option, though I think that no one's really saying that Admech need any further buffs at the moment. If there's anything that you were expecting to see here that hasn't come up, please let us know down in the comments. I'll most certainly have a read myself. If you've enjoyed the video, then feel free to subscribe to Auspex Tactics, or I'll certainly keep the 40k content coming, with new videos out pretty much every day. Finally, if you have been enjoying regularly, I'd just like to mention my Element Games affiliate link, which you can find down in the video description below. If you wanted to help support the channel at all, Element Games is a discount retailer based in the UK, and they give a good 10 to 20% discount on most of Games Workshop's range. If you buy anything at all from them after clicking the link in the video description, a small amount goes to help support Auspex Tactics without costing any more whatsoever. Can just be a way to help support the channel if you were thinking about buying something anyway. For people over in the USA and Canada, I do also have an Amazon affiliate link as well. That one works much the same. Click on that, buy literally anything through Amazon whatsoever, and a small amount goes to help support Auspex Tactics. Can just be a way to help support on things that you were already going to buy. In any case, an absolutely massive thank you for listening, and I'll hope to see you guys next time.